All right, time for a DFS preview of tonight's 11-game slate around the NHL. Here to help, RotoWire's Paul Bruno and AJ Scholz, along with Pete Jensen, host of the Fantasy on Ice podcast for NHL.com. So, guys, we usually start every DFS segment here talking about Austin Matthews, but this time, Paul, your guy got in a little bit of trouble. Suspended for 2 games for cross-checking Buffalo's Rasmus Dahlin in the Heritage Classic. So, with Matthews off the slate at center, Paul, who are you paying up for at that position?
Well, there's a lot of leagues, other top centers in action tonight, and a few of them have tough matchups. I'm going to fade a couple of them. For instance, I prefer to fade McKinnon because of his visit to LA. They've been playing a lot of tight checking hockey, good quality hockey as well. So they'll be a tough out. I also look past Alex Barkov because of the Panthers' visit to a Sharks club that may be feeling a little bit better about their game after 2 straight wins against LA, and the return of Erik Karlsson has certainly helped on the back end. Instead, I look at the Edmonton 1-2 punch, and I opt for Draisaitl out of those 2 guys simply because he's a high-volume shooter over McDavid, who's more of a pass-first guy more often than not. They get a really good matchup against the Detroit club that's given up 27 goals in their last 5 games, and he'll cost $8,200 tonight.
Pete, who's your dude at the dot?
I like 2 guys, but I'll start with JT Miller. He's been on a tear right now. If you haven't heard, his name has been thrown around in some trade rumors because the Vancouver Canucks are a fringe playoff team, you could say, if that. But JT Miller has kept this going from before the coaching change to Bruce Boudreau, and he's even taken it a step further afterwards. 12-game point streak with 24 points in the span, 2 points per game. That matches up against any of the stars out there. And I also like Tomas Hertl. I was looking at his home splits and some of the things that Paul was just saying. Tomas Hertl has 30 points in 30 home games this season, and he's only 5,300 against the Florida Panthers at home. All
right, how much money are you spending at center, AJ?
Well, I love Pete's call on Pittsburgh's JT Miller, or soon-to-be Pittsburgh's JT Miller. But other than that, I mean, I agree with Paul on Draisaitl too. I'd rather have him than McDavid just because of that $800 price difference. You can squeeze some other players in there. But if you're looking further down at the center position, I like Rupe Hintz at 5,700 for Dallas. I know Paul's going to hate hearing that, but the fact of the matter is they're going to use Eric Kallgren in the nets tonight, making his first NHL start for the Maple Leafs. So Dallas might be a good opportunity to stack here. Rupe Hintz, 5,700, plenty of points in recent production, and the Leafs are just going to try and outscore opponents for the next 2 weeks until they get Jack Campbell back.
Hey, AJ, the Metro is tight, dude. Trade deadline 1 week from today. Going to probably see some buyers there. Jonathan Huberdeau, gentlemen, standing out on the wing tonight. He's got a favorable matchup here against San Jose on a 5-game point streak. Looking at his numbers in which he's racked up 8 assists. Would he be your pick, Pete, at the wing, 7K and above, or do you like another guy?
I actually just like a guy a tad below, Kyle Connor, 6,800. But I do like Huberdeau, but I like the price point better on Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. Talk about inconsistent teams. The Winnipeg Jets have been so topsy-turvy this year. But look at what Connor's done from a goal-scoring standpoint. He's among the league leaders. He's got 15 points and 43 shots on goal. 43 shots on goal. Talk about a high floor in his past 10 games. So, yeah, give me Kyle Connor on the wing as a spend-up option. I love what he's doing through thick and thin for the Winnipeg Jets this season.
All right, AJ, which dude you getting after on the wing?
I'm going to go a little bit further down and actually all the way down here on the wing with the Robertson brothers. I'm going to use both of them. Start with Jason from Dallas. He comes in at 6,200, 8 goals in his last 5 games. Again, I talked about the prime matchup with Toronto giving up tied for the most goals allowed in the month of March. And then on the flip side, Nick Robinson comes in at 2,500, basement price tag for him, but he's the guy they're going to move into the second line wing role as they shuffle things around without Matthews. So he gets top 6. He's set to be on the number 2 power play. So at 2,500, I think he's worth a shot as well.
All right, cool. Paul.
You know, you asked about over 7,000, and AJ goes right off the board. How do you like that, eh? I'm going to just say that I'm going to fade a couple of the big boys. Huberdeau is more of a fast-first guy, and Ovechkin has a tough matchup despite his skill set and the 7 goals in his last 10 games. Instead, I'm looking up at David Pastrnak for 8 goals. 14 points in his last 10 games, 45 shots on goal. That's the highest shot volume of any of the guys that we're talking about today so far. And so he's the guy that I'm focusing on in what should be a favorable matchup as they visit Chicago.
All right, dude, let's go back to the blue line here, man. And we're focusing on Norris Trophy favorite, Cale Makar. He's been held off the score sheet in 2 straight games after going 13 in a row with points, racking up 3 goals and 18 apples. Is it time to get back on the Makar train, AJ, or are you fading him tonight in favor of another blue liner?
Well, it's never a bad time to use Makar. He's not going to go that long without a point. If you have the space to fit him, absolutely go for it. I also like Aaron Ekblad at 6,800 tonight. He's been a little hot and cold in terms of the actual points, goals and assists here, but his shots have been really consistent. I love the matchup with the Sharks. But honestly, personally, for me, in my lineup, I'm punting this out of the back of the end zone here. I'm going all the way down on my defenseman in order to, spend up at other spots. But there are definitely guys to use if you want to pay up on the blue line.
Pete, Makar, one of 3 dudes who will cost you at least $7,000 on the blue line.
Yeah, if you want to make room for Makar, or if you want to take AJ's strategy, I would roster Josh Manson for $2,500, and I would even stack him with Cale Makar to offset his price. Josh Manson was just traded yesterday from the Anaheim Ducks to the Colorado Avalanche, so he's joining a star-studded blue line for sure. That's actually without Sam Girard, so he might get some top 4 minutes. We'll see. He's averaging a block per game this season. He has a 3-game point streak prior to the trade, which you'd love to see, and he'll absorb the offense that they're going to give him throughout the even strength minutes that he's going to see. He'll probably see 15, 20 minutes in his debut if he makes it, so keep an eye on that. And I just think that it's a good opportunity for him to kind of reach the point potential that he showed a few years back when he had 37 in a single season with the Anaheim Ducks.
All right, Paul, how much are you willing to spend here on defense?
Well, I'm not going to go right up to the top, but I'm going to stick with the Colorado blue line. And the guy that we haven't spoken about is Devin Taves. He's toiled in the shadows of Makar much of the season, but he's emerged as the second highest scoring threat back there. Consider he's got 9 points in his last 10 games played, pouring a lot of shots on goal and blocking a ton as well. 16 blocks in his last 10, 28 shots on goal, averaging over 13 DK points per game over his last 10 starts. You get him for $5,700. And we've not talked about Adam Fox for a while. His stock seems to have fallen, and he's costing only $5,500. He's not scoring as many goals as most of the other top defenders, but he's sure setting a number of them up, and he's looking like a good pick tonight in a mismatch against Anaheim, a team that's given up over 4 goals per game in their last 4 starts, and Fox has 10 points in his last 10 outings. In a similar vein, I like Quinn Hughes tonight, continuing to be a steady point producer on a Vancouver team that's scoring a ton and much more than they were earlier in the season. He's got 12 points in his last 10 games played, costing $5,400 tonight.